I just made this video where I titled the thumbnail, "Who's Gonna Buy an Xbox?" or "Who Needs an Xbox?" And I'm kind of shocked at the response that this video has gotten. And some of your ideas and some of your interpretation of the potential next Xbox hardware is interesting, but I have to ask two questions. Let's go ahead and look at exactly what I'm talking about so that you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from, right? A lot of people have said things along the lines of, if this particular device is more like a PC slash hybrid console with a handheld that has the capabilities of what the Steam Deck has to offer, I'm game, I'm down to buy it. I own a Steam Deck. I've mentioned that on this channel before. It comes with Steam's OS, but Steam provided the ability and the capability for us to be able to go ahead and install whatever the heck we kind of want there that's within the support of AMD hardware that's on there. So you can install Windows 10, Windows 11. I installed both of them, and you can go ahead and install all kinds of other OSs that would probably be compatible. So the question I'm willing to ask here is, number one, is Xbox ready to take the second step in being more pro-consumer than it already is? If they want to do that, then they're going to absolutely win the next generation hands down. There is no reserve if they take that step. Here's the second part, though. Is the consumer ready for this kind of new frontier, is how I'm going to call it? Because it's one thing to have it's one thing to have a functionality present, and it's another thing to also have people who are willing to delve into that functionality. And again, Phil Spencer has talked about how the Xbox ecosystem is actually set up. It's basically a cut down version of Windows. It's kind of layered to be able to prevent some things. The Xbox console is closed. You can't necessarily use specific aspects of the functionality, like the USB devices. They're only set up to use specific USB peripherals. All of these little things that Xbox has put to kind of close the ecosystem more than it necessarily has to. I think that's probably what destroyed them this generation more than anything else. If they had just left that thing open quietly, even with dev mode and everything, if they had just kept quiet about it, and then all of a sudden one day go and say, oh yeah, by the way, you can basically door your Xbox and go ahead and do all of these other things, I strongly believe that they would have basically taken this generation stealthily. And it was a very big mistake and a big error to design the console to be so closed that you can't do anything with it. So other people have seen the Steam Deck, and they've seen Valve's own paradigm and Valve's own strategy. And so now what are people thinking about? They're thinking about the potential of their Xbox being able to do something like that. But the question is, and the two questions are, number one, is Phil Spencer ready to take this approach? He may be. And number two, is the gamer ready to deal with this new frontier? Are people going to be willing to go ahead and say, okay, I want to go ahead and take this risk on my new Xbox and try to engage in other pieces of what PC has to bring? But I think the likelihood of Phil doing this is going to pretty much lean on the fact that those who already have an Xbox can easily keep their Xbox library, continue their Xbox gaming, and then at the same time, gain access to other parts of the market in terms of video games, in terms of what they actually have to bring into the whole conversation. That's one side of the whole thing. And then, with all of that in place, Xbox is able to pretty much bring new innovation to its own hardware in terms of, hey, our hardware basically has a possibility of an open platform. I've also seen people say, well, it might be a part where other manufacturers go ahead and manufacture Xbox hardware. I don't know if that's actually a possibility, man. That's kind of very complicated. You'd have to have people on board to want to do that. But again, we don't really know what it is. But lately, I've seen when questions were asked of him about what the next Xbox console would be, he just basically said something about innovation. When Sarah Bond was asked, he said something about innovation. I think they're keeping a lot of their cards close to their chest with the next Xbox hardware. This is probably where you can tell that they're more than likely going to go ahead and subvert the entire expectation of the whole market. Now, once again, I'm just asking these questions because, again, think about it. When you present the premise of a Steam Deck or a Rogue Ally or whatever it is to some console players, there's a little bit of the skittishness that comes with it. Like, a lot of people will swear to you, I don't want to go ahead and deal with all of these other troubleshooting and whatever and whatnot. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what I'm asking about, because I don't think they're going to outright just make it accessible for everybody. They're going to put like a little bit of a, some kind of a hurdle, just the way dev mode is. Dev mode, once you go in and set up your account, pay for it and do all that, then you have access to dev mode on your computer. It's not really that difficult, right? But there's still a barrier where not everybody is pretty much engaging in it. But think about if they were to go ahead and say, oh yeah, developer mode on this new Xbox gives you access to a Windows operating system. Huh? Do you know what happens there? You got to think about it that way. And so this is one of the reasons that I basically am looking at the base level conversation that everybody is pretty much having on this particular matter. And honestly, I'm quite shocked. The video has basically been about an hour out or a few hours out, and there have been over 50 plus comments just saying that this is how people envision it. But I'm here, like I said, like Lord Xbox 5700 said, Xbox already has and offers developer mode. Wouldn't take much to go all the way. Crunch the numbers. If you're interested in Xbox first party games, you'd be crazy not to. Okay? I'm an Xbox gamer and I love value. I have a gaming PC and I play sparingly on it. I just love the convenience of the plug and play aspect. Maybe one day I'll change my mind and fully switch, but it will be primarily via Xbox ecosystem with a sprinkle of Steam games. This is why I'm asking this question. Are you going to be willing to sit there and go download some random thing and do whatever this is? Or do you want Xbox to create a system whereby you just pretty much click a button and then it takes you into the back end mode, of which there's still a small minimum level of setup that goes into it? Someone said, if it ends up being a generic PC type machine from Xbox, shut up and take my money. Someone said Phil Spencer was the one that brought up adding Steam and Epic to the Xbox store. I don't know if he did, but there was a picture that I saw with Jeff Keighley, Gabe Newell, and him in a video call. Somebody sent a picture of it out there. I don't know what they were talking about. And maybe it was him. I don't know. I'm hearing people say that, but I'm not sure. Right? And so this person said if Xbox was to create a hybrid PC, so Carl says this, if Xbox was to create a hybrid console PC, I don't think they would just whack Steam as we know it on a console because of what you said. It wouldn't fit and possibly eat into their ecosystem. What they can do is allow you to access and play your Steam library on the Xbox, just like how you can play your Xbox library on PC. If you have a massive Steam library, Xbox is aware they can't force you to use their PC store or force you to split your library access across multiple devices. I launched my Xbox via Steam library, so Xbox will do the same thing if the console is a PC hybrid. Let me just go ahead and give my own honest opinion of how I see it. When I got my Steam Deck, right, I was able to go ahead and set up a Windows, OS on a separate memory card, right? This is what made the Steam Deck quite interesting because you could just basically have access to Steam OS, which is going to put you in, all of Steam, and then you can do some other desktop stuff if you had desktop mode. So it was basically a computer, but was running on Steam's OS on a Linux framework of some kind. But when you installed Windows, it was on a separate memory. You could do it on the same, main hard drive, but they recommended not to do that. So you could do it on a secondary memory card where you can then download Windows, install games, and so on and so forth. So when you booted up your Steam Deck, you chose where you boot your Steam Deck into. I think this is probably how Xbox is going to pull it off, where you have to now go ahead and cross into that other ecosystem, if that is what y'all are saying here. Is exactly what it is that you want. So when I could go into that, I could then use Game Pass, or some other people have used things like Bazai OS and some of the others, but you have to go ahead and access those maybe by installing them on, say, the Steam paradigm or whatever. I haven't investigated all of that and how you do it on the Steam Deck, but you're having to install something else and do some other back, end and framework modifications to be able to get there. This is where I see Xbox pretty much pleading a mea culpa, like, oh, it's a Windows device and, they just have access to their own devices. So if you break it, though, don't come back and cry to us. But in reality, they give you all the tools that you need, just like Steam was able to go ahead and give Steam Deck Windows and give you the drivers for everything that you needed. Because I used that thing for a good amount of time and I was like, whoa, it really did work. Like all of the audio drivers and everything, you could pretty much go ahead and get the resources that you needed. It's all here for the Steam Deck OLED, for the regular Steam Deck. Everything was available and made, they were made possible by Steam working with AMD to get it done. So I think this is probably the way the execution would go, because this way it doesn't have, PlayStation crying about it being anti-competitive. It doesn't have anybody complaining about anything, but now it just gives you access to your console machine in a way that no other console can give you access to, which is what Steam has already done with the Steam Deck. And even the other manufacturers out here of the handheld are looking at doing. And this is why I asked the second question to the audience and say, are you ready for that kind of a, minimal task to go ahead and, start messing with your Xbox console and trying to see what's going on? I think it's that simple. And so if gamers are ready for this, and I'm sure Steam, I said Steam, I'm sure Phil Spencer reads a lot of stuff. He watches a lot of videos. In fact, his latest interview, he was talking about the 70% and 30% thing with the interviewers. I think this might probably be the direction that they go with their, their engineers. Because again, what gamers, okay, let me put it this way. And Xbox is opening up its ecosystem to other gamers and reaching out to other gamers where they are. Why not open up its ecosystem for its own gamers with to be able to go ahead and do that? I mean, that's a question for them to answer. How are they going to stay profitable? Well, the value proposition they still have is still strong, right? And Steam understands their value proposition. They know how strong it is. And this is one thing about value in business. A lot of people are so used to closed ecosystems. When you start talking all of the, stuff that we see and do on PC and how we address it, many people can't really believe that Valve is a real company. They really, Valve sometimes they do some things and you're like, this has got to be a scam. And Xbox seems to be taking those steps with Game Pass, with Play Anywhere, with being able to stream your devices over cloud. I think their hardware now basically opening it up is the final step for them to basically to get where they need to be overall. It will invite people into their ecosystem. They'll have access to a multi-interface device where they can either build an Xbox library, maybe using Game Pass, and then also access a Steam library via console with minimal complications or minimal difficulty. That's how I see, if they're going to pull it off, that's how I see it. Comment section, talk to me. Thanks for watching. Peace out.